I'm going to tell you one thing about gun culture in Idaho. We are now well into hunting season, deer hunting season, and frankly, we've heard very little talk about any serious problems, people accidentally shooting someone else and the like. Having grown up in upstate New York, that usually was fairly common. Especially, you'd get the guys coming out of the big cities who'd rush out to go deer hunting, and we called them buffalo hunters. Didn't have to do with any buffalo they were hunting; it was the city they came from, and they would just point them point in any direction and bang. But we've had a good start here in Idaho, and I think that speaks highly of people who know how to handle firearms. Also, a lot of people, of course, once you actually you get that game, you may need someone to help you with processing. High desert meat processing processes one animal at a time. What you bring in is what you get back. Darren Van Horn is the owner of High Desert Meat Processing. He's been in business in Twin Falls now for over 30 years. Visit High Desert Meat Processing on Facebook, read reviews of other customers, and you can give High Desert Meat Processing a telephone call for all of your wild game and domestic and processing needs, 734-9949. High Desert Meat does in-house smoking. Nothing is shipped out. Specialty meats such as pepperoni, salami, jerky, summer sausage, breakfast sausage, kielbasa, brats, Polish dogs, hot dogs, and more. USDA approved. Darren works closely with local beef growers and their programs to ensure quality meat. 734-9949. Speaking of firearms, there was a great piece by Eric Erickson last week, who, of course, is one of the sometimes fill-ins for Rush Limbaugh. Erickson has a talk show out of located in Atlanta, Georgia. Erickson was saying that when people talk about accidents with firearms, it's not usually the firearm, it's usually the dummy behind the accident. And he says, I have firearms in my own home, but we keep them locked away, and the children can't get to them. And when I was growing up as a kid, I remember one time my dad said, hey, run up to he found a hole in one of his socks, said, run up to my bedroom and get me some socks out of my sock drawer, which I assumed there were two top drawers. I opened one to the right, and there was a pistol in there, and I just simply closed it, opened up the left one, and got his socks. Because I knew better. You don't pick up that pistol and go, pow, 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 pow. That can be dangerous. And we've had a couple of stories in the last few days. We heard one in the newscast just a little while ago from Fox. Very depressing. But again, it's a situation. Some guy in the inner city probably has a gun that he bought. Who knows how he bought it or where he bought it. And, of course, he left it out, and a child picked it up, and tragic, tragic results. But again, these are people who don't have any background in safety. 9:36. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 53. In Detroit, a fellow broke into a church following a church service over the weekend. About 15 minutes after church had let out, and he had been threatening the pastor, and he came after the pastor with a brick. Bad move. Quote, he had been threatening him to do bodily harm, unquote, Assistant Police Chief Steve Dolan said. Quote, he walked into the service and went after the pastor with a brick. The pastor pulled out his Glock and fired several shots. I think he hit him 4 or 5 times, and the man died, unquote. Well, all right, so, pastor trying to help somebody get to heaven, that's all. Or perhaps the guy went somewhere else, but job done. And there's somebody who actually knows how to handle firearms. Meanwhile, over at Vox, which is a very liberal publication, a writer is talking about Hillary Clinton's praise of the Australian gun grab that took place in the late 1990s. She praised the gun control measures Australia adopted at a campaign stop Friday, saying, quote, it would be worth considering doing it on the national level, unquote. She stopped short of outright saying the U.S. should copy the law, but expressed sympathy. Between October 1996 and September 1997, Australia confiscated roughly 650,000 privately held guns. It was one of the largest mandatory gun buyback programs in recent history. And even the liberal writer at the liberal publication Vox has this to say, it's unclear from Clinton's statement if she realized Australia's buyback was mandatory. In other words, it was forced upon people. And what they did is they told people, look, we will give you amnesty if you have illegal firearms out there. But overall, they were just trying to pay money for firearms, which, of course, is a big budgetary expense, as many of you might know. So Hillary is talking about doing this and apparently making it mandatory. And no, they will not call it confiscation. And liberals keep saying, oh, nobody's coming after all of your guns. And then every once in a while, some liberal slips and they let it know if they could, they would. And that's really what their ultimate goal is. I don't think anybody who actually owns firearms today would disagree with that. That this is the entire plan, and they keep it's incrementalism. I keep hearing people say, "Well, what are you worried about with Sharia law? If you got refugees here, there's only going to be a few, and then there'll be a few more, drip, 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 then a few more, and same thing when it comes to guns. The media is working with its fellow travelers in the Democrat Party to constantly hammer away. Guns are bad. Gun owners are bad. Gun owners believe in God. That's bad too. Therefore, we need to stop people from believing in God, and we need to take their guns away at all cost, whatever the cost may be. And there is that phrase that has been adopted by a great many gun owners in this country, borrowed from the Spartans who stopped the Spartans, or the Spartans stopped the Persians at Thermopylae in Greece, 300 of them against 10,000. When they were told, throw down your weapons, Leonidas, the leader of that group, said, Molon Labe. In other words, come and take them. And I do not believe these Democrats are making a lot of noise because they know they'll get a lot of votes from the simpering panty waists on the left who believe we should take guns away from people. But they know ultimately they can't do it. And if they want to go door to door and try, there won't be many Democrats left. That's not, a threat. That's just telling you the truth about all of this, what would really happen in this country. 20 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. If we get a chance, we'll talk a little bit about the economy in just a few minutes and how it is impacting current politics and may impact the divisions in politics for decades to come. More on that just ahead.